Why do mechanics groan when they hear Pentastar 3.6? That's not a joke. That's the honest reaction in a lot of repair shops. But despite all the hate, this engine is everywhere. So if it's really that bad, why hasn't it been replaced? Stick around, because what you're about to learn might just flip your opinion of Chrysler's most controversial engine. The golden child that looked too good to fail. Back in 2010, Chrysler introduced the Pentastar 3.6-liter V6 like it was the second coming of engineering greatness. One engine to rule them all, replacing 6 older V6s across their lineup with a single modern, efficient powerhouse. It had aluminum construction, double overhead cams, variable valve timing, over 280 horsepower, and way better fuel economy than anything Chrysler had made before. The idea was simple: consolidate production, streamline repairs, and boost performance all in one move. And for a while it seemed to work. The Pentastar ended up in nearly everything: Dodge Chargers, Chrysler 300s, Jeep Wranglers, Grand Cherokees, even minivans like the Grand Caravan and Pacifica. The rollout was massive, millions of vehicles in a matter of years. Chrysler was so confident, they gave it a bold name, Pentastar, after the company's iconic logo. That's how big the hopes were. But here's the thing with mass production. It doesn't hide flaws, it exposes them. The more engines you build, the faster problems pile up if anything goes wrong. And for the Pentastar, they did. The infamous tick, when the head starts talking. Back by 2012, mechanics across North America started noticing a weird pattern: check engine lights, rough idle, misfires on cylinder number 2, and a soft ticking noise that got worse with time. The culprit? The left cylinder head. It was failing, sometimes as early as 30,000 miles. It wasn't a small defect. Chrysler eventually admitted it was a design flaw. The exhaust valve seats couldn't handle long-term heat stress, and over time they'd warp or leak, leading to loss of compression. Not only did the engine lose power, it started misfiring. Some mechanics joked it sounded like a sewing machine choking on gravel. Chrysler quietly released a revised head in 2012 and extended the warranty to 10 years, 150,000 miles on affected vehicles. But you can't unring that bell. For independent shops, it meant constant repeat work, the kind of job that looks easy on paper but becomes a nightmare in practice. Tight engine bays, fragile connectors, hours of labor, over and over again. Even today, ask any mechanic about the Pentastar tick and watch their eyes roll. It wasn't a rare issue, it was widespread, and it stained the engine's reputation forever. Plastic everywhere, lightweight design meets long-term pain. Now let's talk about plastic. Chrysler used a lot of it on the Pentastar. The intake manifold, plastic; coolant crossover, plastic; oil filter housing, also plastic. And while lightweight plastic parts can reduce weight and cost, they don't exactly scream long-term reliability. The plastic oil filter housing is one of the most hated parts on this engine. It cracks, it leaks, it warps, all from normal engine heat. One day your oil light's on, and the next there's a puddle under your car. Replacing it isn't always easy either. In many models, you're dealing with tight quarters and awkward angles. It's a $70 part that causes $500 headaches. Mechanics have even created memes about this housing. It's that common. Same goes for the coolant lines. They're brittle. Over time, they fracture or leak at the seams, often without warning. One owner described it like this: "It's a car that slowly self-destructs from the inside out." Chrysler eventually revised these parts, switching to aluminum oil housings and stronger coolant lines, but the early years left scars. And again, this wasn't a rare fluke. It was happening on a mass scale. Oil filter roulette, one wrong twist and you're toast. Here's a fun one. Changing the oil on a Pentastar isn't always as simple as it should be. That's because the engine uses a unique cartridge-style oil filter that sits inside that fragile plastic housing we just talked about. Now imagine you're doing a routine oil change, but you over-tighten the cap even slightly. Crack. There goes the housing. It gets worse. If you don't use the right spec filter, or if an aftermarket brand doesn't quite fit, you could cause pressure loss or oil starvation. One wrong part, one careless twist, and boom, engine failure. For dealerships, it wasn't too bad. They had factory parts and procedures. But for DIY owners or quick lube shops, disaster. Some shops even started turning away Pentastar oil changes unless the customer provided their own filter housing. That's how nervous it made them. It's not just about inconvenience, it's about the kind of mistake that leads to catastrophic damage, even if the engine itself is still fine. And again, this became a regular sight in repair shops. More volume equals more problems, and the Pentastar was everywhere. Timing chain woes. When maintenance turns into mayhem. Timing chains are supposed to last the life of an engine, but on early Pentastar models, that wasn't always the case. Owners who didn't stick to strict oil change intervals started hearing rattles. Sometimes the tensioners failed, other times the guides wore out early. And if the chain skipped a tooth, well, you're in for a very expensive day. It was another example of an engine that technically worked well, but didn't tolerate neglect. The Pentastar isn't what you'd call forgiving. You miss oil changes, use the wrong viscosity, or stretch your service too far, and it fights back, hard. Mechanics started calling it a punishment engine. Not because it was weak, but because it punished owners for even the smallest maintenance mistake. You could take great care of it and it'd run beautifully. But most people don't. And the Pentastar didn't let them off easy. Third-gen comeback, Chrysler tries to fix its own legacy. In 2016, Chrysler rolled out the third generation of the Pentastar 3.6. This wasn't just a tweak, it was a serious overhaul. They added two-stage variable valve lift, improved fuel economy again, and made the engine smoother, quieter, and more durable. More importantly, they addressed a lot of the complaints. Revised cylinder heads, better oil filter housings, improved timing chain components. It was clear Chrysler had heard the criticism and was trying to course correct. And you know what? It worked. The Gen 3 Pentastar is a much better engine. Fewer ticking complaints, less plastic drama. Mechanics still grumble, sure, but not with the same intensity. It's become a reliable workhorse, especially in the Jeep Wrangler and Chrysler Pacifica. And yet, the stigma never fully disappeared. Once an engine gets a bad reputation, it's nearly impossible to shake. And for the Pentastar, those early years haunt it like a ghost under the hood. Mechanics speak, hate it, tolerate it, or just sick of seeing it. Ask 10 mechanics what they think of the Pentastar, and you'll get 10 different answers. Some say it's junk, others say it's not that bad if properly maintained. But one theme keeps coming up. They're just tired of it. Why? Because they see it constantly. The sheer volume of Pentastar-equipped vehicles means even small failure rates turn into massive repair traffic. A 2% defect on a million engines is still 20,000 problems. That kind of math adds up in a hurry. It's also not a particularly fun engine to work on. Tight spaces, finicky parts, fragile plastic. The kind of jobs that make techs sweat, swear, and promise themselves they'll never buy one. So the hate, it's not always about design, it's about experience. And after 15 years of non-stop Pentastar repairs, some mechanics just want a break. Still, others defend it. They say it's no worse than any other modern engine, just more visible. And they have a point. The Toyota V6 has its flaws. Ford's EcoBoost has issues. But the Pentastar gets dragged more. Maybe because it's easier to point fingers at Chrysler than at a beloved brand like Toyota or Honda. A victim of success or a true engineering misstep? So here's the big question. Was the Pentastar 3.6-liter V6 a failure? Or was it just a victim of its own overwhelming success? On paper, it looks like a winner. It's been in production since 2010 and is still going strong today. Over 10 million of them have been built. It's powered everything from sedans and SUVs to minivans and muscle cars. It's won awards, met emissions targets, boosted fuel efficiency, and proven itself, at least in its later versions, as a smooth, decently powerful engine. That kind of longevity usually means you did something right, but those early years? Brutal, and mechanics remember. The infamous ticking from the left cylinder head wasn't a rare issue. It was practically a rite of passage for early owners. Add in the crumbling plastic oil filter housing, fragile coolant lines, and temperamental timing chain components, and the picture gets uglier. Even simple maintenance could turn into an expensive nightmare. Mechanics weren't dealing with catastrophic engine failures. They were dealing with wave after wave of recurring problems. And that can wear on anyone. It's almost ironic. The sheer number of Pentastar-equipped vehicles out there meant that even a small failure rate led to tens of thousands of complaints. And when every third vehicle rolling into your bay has the same quirks, same sounds, same plastic bits cracked in the same places, it starts to feel personal. You begin to hate the engine not because it's truly the worst, but because it just won't go away. That's the true legacy of the Pentastar. Not greatness, not disaster, just relentless mediocrity stretched across millions of cars. It's not the engine that blew up in flames, it's the one that quietly annoyed everyone for years. And sometimes that's even worse. It didn't break the rules, it just broke your patience. So, is the Pentastar 3.6 liter the most hated engine by mechanics? For some, absolutely. For others, it's just another overworked engine in a world full of overworked engines. The hate is real, but so is the context. It's not the worst engine ever made. It's just the one mechanics can't seem to escape. But what about you? Have you owned a Pentastar? Loved it? Hated it? Had a horror story or a surprising success? Drop your experience in the comments. We want to hear from you. And if you like this deep dive into one of the most debated engines of our time, hit that like button, subscribe for more brutally honest takes, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Because next time, we might be tearing apart your favorite engine. Thanks for watching.